Cam Newton. So he took a hit to the head after giving himself up on a slide in the second quarter, but no penalty was called on Redskins linebacker Trent Murphy. Instead, Newton was the one who drew a flag for taunting when he flipped the ball at Murphy after rising from the turf. Here's Cam after the game.
That just can't happen on my part. I just have to let the referees, do their job. And I thought it was a questionable hit, but yeah, I can't. I can't throw the ball at a person. I know that's against the rules too. So.
Did the referee do his job?
Sir?
Did the referee do his job?
Next question. In a position like that, everyone. Obviously I couldn't run to the sideline. I was sliding, and I'm not going to beat the dead horse, man. So I can't retaliate in that way. I'm better than that. I know I am, and I can't jeopardize that type of play for my team.
Serious hat right there. The game referee, Walt Coleman, said after the game that he saw Cam slide late and the defender went over the top. He did not see any forcible contact with the head. Max, how do you feel about this?
First of all, that's a terrible hat. Can we just say what it is?
It's so bad.
It's ugly in any universe, including like Alice in Wonderland. That is terrible.
It's important to mention that he felt the need to wear the outfit, possibly the hat with it, because he said that he was paying tribute to Craig Sager.
Yes, but Craig Sager didn't wear those hats.
I know that. That's what he told Lisa Salters. That's what he told Lisa Salters.
And along these lines,
I'm just saying, look, this is important.
Cam, I bring this up when Cam is the subject nowadays.
Cam.
Right.
Because like A-Rod, Cam seems so disingenuous at times. He seems so uncomfortable in his own skin, he makes you uncomfortable in yours watching him. He seems as though everything he says is calculated to create an effect in the listener instead of just telling you what he feels. And maybe the NFL is designed in part to dissuade you from saying what you really feel, but there are players who come off as much more genuine than Cam.
Okay.
That said, and even if he complains about it and the refs don't like him, justice is supposed to be blind. That was helmet to helmet, cut and dried. Should have been a flag. And then the fact that he gets angry about it, rightfully, and complains, and then he gets called for it, that's messed up. I mean, whether or not he wears ridiculous hats, which he does, whether or not he's disingenuous, which he seems to be to me, whether or not he complains and the refs don't like him, fine, I'm willing to accept that. That's got nothing to do with the way they're supposed to call the game on the field. And it looks to me, maybe it was an honest mistake, but it looks to me like the refs have it out for him.
I don't disagree that there seems to be unfavorable treatment coming his way from time to time. There are missed calls. Now, I've spoken to people in the NFL office. They talked about how they analyze these officials every week. But just because the NFL puts forth its due diligence in dissecting, monitoring, and evaluating officials doesn't mean that officials as individuals don't try to implement their own personal biases to influence how a particular athlete is treated when it comes to penalties and beyond. Having said all of that, it's a couple of things that I'd like to say about Cam Newton here. Number one, Cam Newton bothers me at times. But he bothers me because I believe he's genuinely a good guy. And I think in an effort to try to be so good, and thinking about his brand, which extends beyond the football field, he goes about the business of trying to dance around issues so he addresses them without offending anybody. And there is something to be said about just being real and authentic because it builds and elevates a level of trust. And that is the point that I want, if Cam is watching right now, that is the point that I really, really want him to get from all of this. I want him to understand, because I've spoken to Cam on several occasions in the past, as you know. You understand, I got a lot of love for the brother. My issue with him is that I think it's incredibly important that you don't be fearful of how you're going to be viewed when you believe in your heart of hearts that you're speaking truth. Because if you're too overly concerned about it, then there's going to come a point in time where you really, really, really need to be heard. I didn't say listened to. I said heard. A lot of people don't understand the difference. Listening to is somebody just giving you their ear and allowing you to give them lip service. Being heard is when they literally inhale and comprehend where you are coming from, contextually and otherwise. If Cam Newton isn't careful Cam Newton is going to be the NFL's version of Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
Remember Dwight Howard?
Yes.
So
Dwight Howard got Dwight Howard got to a point in his career. Max can speak to this. Dwight Howard is one of the best people you will find. At times, people felt he needed to grow up, but he's a good person. The problem is that he cared so much about how people viewed stuff that you got to a point where you couldn't trust
But let's talk about the disconnect.
And Cam got to be careful about that.
Let's talk about the disconnect because that's not the case with Andrew Luck or Dak Prescott. And the difference is, to me, that you have to drink the Kool-Aid. You have to buy into the way of doing things, to the culture of the game, at the quarterback position especially, as the face of a franchise. And I don't think Cam Newton believes the NFL or the football orthodoxy, the received wisdom about how you have to be a quarterback. I don't think he believes it. The celebration, stop me then, all that kind of stuff. Andrew Luck and Dak Prescott, for example, and Russell Wilson and others buy in. They believe it. So when they're asked questions, they can answer truthfully because the truth is coming from a place where they accept the way it's supposed to be according to everyone else. Well, there's no disconnect. Cam doesn't. So he has to constantly watch what he says because he doesn't buy in.
But you're thinking about belief. I'll make it simpler for you. They understand the rules of the game, and what they came in as, they're consistent. So I know what I'm going to get every time I listen to Andrew Luck, every time I listen to Dak Prescott. I see the same person all the time. With Cam, as was the case at times in the past with Dwight Howard of the Atlanta Hawks, formerly the Lakers and the Houston Rockets and Orlando Magic, those guys, sometimes they sound one way, other times they sound another way. And that diminishes and dissipates the level of trust you have in their words when you feel like they're not being as real and authentic as they could be.
I think the bottom line is control what you can control, and you can't worry about what other people think.
Cam needs to stop. Cam's a good guy and a star.
Tim Duncan never had to worry about what he said because he knew what he thought. What he thought aligned with what we wanted him to think. And when that's not the case and you try to please people, that's when you have that problem.
All right, let's leave it here, guys. A hard left turn. Up next, we are going to discuss the latest in the Brock Turner case. The judge that sentenced him to only 6 months for sexual assault has been cleared of any misconduct in the case. We'll discuss that next.